We want to get straight to Tucson's Police Chief Roberto Villasenor with an update on an investigation involving a child abuse case.
But as I'm sure you can imagine, this is a very complex investigation. It's going to require a lot of work. Our detectives have been working almost nonstop since yesterday, and they have a lot of interviews and a lot of work to do, and we won't be able to answer all of your questions right now for the sake of the investigation. I'm sure you understand that, but we will try and answer many of your questions and give you a clearer understanding of what happened. So for those of you who weren't at yesterday's conference, we'll give you a short rundown of what occurred. Yesterday at 4:02 in the morning, we were called to the residence at 2836 North Estrella. This is in our West Side Patrol Division. What had occurred there is two young females aged 12 and 13 who were residents of that victim had left that house through the window and run to a neighbor's house where they informed the neighbor that their stepfather was trying to break into their bedroom door. He was brandishing a knife and they were running for fear. They made allegations once officers arrived there that they had been kept imprisoned in their room for a substantial amount of time. That time period could approach up to a year and a half to 2 years. They also said they had a sister, a 17-year-old sister, who was imprisoned in another bedroom. The 12 and 13-year-old were kept in one bedroom. The 17-year-old was imprisoned in a second bedroom. Officers responded to the location and made entry into the house and did find the 17-year-old female in a bedroom. The condition of all the kids was quite dirty, covered in dirt and grime, and appeared to be that they had not bathed or cleaned for quite some time. The children were evaluated by detectives at the scene and interviewed so that we could make sure that we were getting separate stories and were not allowed to talk with each other. Their stories were very consistent and matched each other as to what had occurred in the house. Forensic evaluations and gathering of evidence occurred. Medical evaluations were done for the children to make sure that there were no immediate medical needs that needed to be addressed. After all the forensic evidence was obtained, photographs and the evaluation, they were allowed to clean up. Obviously they were fed. And then our highest priority was placing them in a safe, secure environment where they could remain together. We did not want to separate them again. The two adults involved here, the biological mother, Sophia Richter, R-I-C-H-T-E-R, first name is spelled S-O-P-H-I-A, and Fernando Richter, who our understanding is not the biological father of any of the children. His date of birth is 03/11/79. Sophia's is 04/24/81. They were interviewed by detectives. Mr. Richter invoked his Miranda rights and refused to talk. Ms. Richter gave a statement. We won't go into too many details about that at this time. We will have current booking photos available for you at the end of this press conference. I believe Sergeant Widmer, if he has not already posted them on the website, will be posting them quite shortly. Mr. Richter was charged with 3 counts of kidnapping, 3 counts of child abuse, emotional abuse, 3 counts of child abuse, physical abuse, and 1 count of sexual abuse with a person under 15 years of age. Ms. Richter is charged with 3 counts of kidnapping, 3 counts of child abuse, emotional abuse, and 3 counts of child abuse, physical abuse. There will more than likely be additional charges posted, and we will inform you of that when that occurs. Obviously, we've been conducting an extensive investigation into the entire scenario and in the family. It's been determined that the family has been at the Estrella address since August of 2013 to the present. Prior to that, from March 2011 to August 2013, they lived up in the 60,000 block of East Black Crest Loop in Catalina. That would be in Pinal County. We obviously are conducting an investigation with people in that area and interviewing to determine if we can find out any information there. Prior to March 2011, they lived in Tucson in the 3600 block of East March Place. We don't know when they moved into that residence, but our understanding it was for several years there. When the girls were contacted, the elder sister had on her a satchel that she kept. Inside that satchel was a detailed journal that accounts for over 1.5 years of days with information that detectives are gleaning right now and cataloging. Also inside that satchel was a picture of Enrique Iglesias, who the juvenile girl said was probably her most prized possession. We made arrangements after conducting an evaluation of the satchel to get that picture back to her last night, and she was completely overjoyed when we did that. So obviously, Mr. Iglesias is an important aspect for her and helped her psychologically to deal with this situation. When the girls saw each other last night, to the detectives it appeared that they had not seen each other for quite some time. Comments to each other about the change in appearance and statements that they made which gave indication that they had not seen each other for a substantial period of time substantiated their story as well. There was evidence obtained from the residents which validated the statements of the girls and determined that there was means in which they were imprisoned by a variety of means, technological as well as psychological, inside the bedrooms of their residences. The residence was alarmed extensively through the exterior perimeter openings as well as the interior doors of the bedrooms, so that anyone who opened the door, there'd be immediate notification to others. There was a constant barrage of music or static directed into the girls' rooms. However, even when officers entered into the house initially, until they got right up next to the door, the music was not able, and that was because the room was sealed at the ductwork and with towels under the doors, and it was made relatively close to soundproof. There's other information that is coming forward that will be continued to be followed up on by detectives. They have a long day ahead of them. They will continue to work with the county attorney's office, child protective services, Pinal County's office, advise them of what we need assistance for up there, and any agency that we feel it's important to gather the help from. At this point, I'd like to open it up for questions.
Chief, I need to know, had your office been made aware of this house before? Had you answered any calls to this house prior?
We're looking into that. We have had a few contacts at the house, but nothing that related back to this incident. But we are also looking at that, and we're contacting CPS to see if they've had any previous contacts at this house.
Sir, when you say you had contacts at that house during the time that this family lived there?
Correct.
Where is the biological father?
That I don't know at this point. We'll be looking for that.
What sort of contacts did you have?
Okay, one at a time.
What sort of contacts did you have? Did the officers, did the police officers have with the family in previous occasions?
I don't have that information right now. My understanding, one of them was the stepfather had reported being chased by some juvenile males in the area. They canceled the call prior to our arrival. Another one involved an alleged robbery of the father as well. So.
Is it believed that this kind of imprisonment only took place at this residence, or is there an indication that this may have been going on when they lived in Mount?
There's indications this may have been going on at Catalina as well, and at this point I don't believe that we have any indications that that occurred previous to that, but as I said, we're still in the early stages of this investigation.
Chief, sometimes
Yes, sir.
the bail will...
Just a second, I'm sorry, Bud, I'll get it.
The grandmother of these three children last night was saying they're homeschooled, that's why they don't leave. The family did not have a car, that's why they didn't go out. And the family made the decision after they moved into this house not to let the kids outside because they didn't like the neighborhood. And she says this is just a case of kids kind of overblowing something. Do you have any indication in your investigation that what she is saying is true?
Obviously, we're going to look into those statements as well. I will tell you that the condition of the children, the unkempt, filthy condition that they were in, the condition of the house, evidence that was found inside the bedrooms indicates a validity to what the children are telling us. Detectives who deal with these cases on a daily basis, I asked them point blank, do you feel that these things occurred? Do you feel that these things happened? Their overwhelming impression is that the girls were telling the truth.
Chief, sometimes the bail will indicate the seriousness of the crime. In this case, $100,000 for Fernando, $75,000 for Sophia. Doesn't sound like a whole lot. Your reaction to that?
That's really not the purview of the police department. That's with the judges, and I think it's better for the judges to answer those questions.
What did the neighbors tell you guys about the rapers?
Right now, it seems like there wasn't much contact. Some of the people had no idea that children were at the house or even lived there. They very rarely saw them, but we're still following up with that information.
When you spoke to the girls, when your detectives did, how are they doing now from when they were rescued?
You know, they're showing some signs, obviously, of some type of psychological trauma. There's a couple of them that just unusual characterizations, but these are officers and detectives. They're not trained in psychological evaluation. They can make some observations, but obviously we will consult with medical professionals who will look at that and make sure if there's any needs or cares that the children need, that's provided. Well, obviously we gave one charge of sexual abuse to Fernando, and so we had some indications of that. We had enough to charge him with that, and we'll continue our investigation in regard to that.
Do you know yet what the psychological evidence that they was used to imprison them?
Not at this point. Our intention is to try and talk with some other family members, you know, including grandmother and other family members who might have information about this, and we'll do a second press conference later in the day.
Were they told that one of the other people told them, the one that...
We wouldn't comment on that.
Do you know yet, Chief, when they were last registered in school?
No, I don't.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what was in that journal, how long the journal was, how detailed?
Like I said, it was over a year and a half of information in there. I don't want to talk too much about that, and again, it's early on in the investigation. There's a lot of evidence gathering that needs to take place, and we'll have more information on that later.
How long has Fernando been on the scene in the picture with the family?
Our understanding that at least over a decade they've been together. I believe that they've been married now for 3 to 4 years, but he's been with Sophia for a decade or 11 years, something of that
Is there been a
nature.
legal process where he assumed
I don't know.
control of the children?
I don't know.
You said the mom made a statement. Can you indicate what was in that statement?
Not at this point. The information that I've given you is all that I can give you at this point.
Do you have any information about the last time they attended the school?
No.
You mentioned technological imprisonment. Was there any sign of surveillance cameras or that they were being watched via video monitoring inside the house?
Yes. There appeared to be a 24/7 type of video surveillance system set up on the girls' bedrooms.
And was that, what conclusion have you guys drawn from that they didn't want to see him leave? And
We don't make conclusions like that at this point. We're gathering the information. Once we determine that, then we'll use that in our case preparation.
Did they put like deadbolts on the girls' doors to keep them out? I mean, how did they seal them from actually walking?
Not going to talk about that at this point.
Chief, they were in prison for as long as you believe they were. There seems like there had to have been some other point in time where his father may have come after him. What actually perpetrated the escape early Tuesday morning?
Well, what caused the fear this time, and the two young girls are alleging that the stepfather broke the door to the bedroom and attempted to get in there, and that he was brandishing a knife at that point. That is what gave the girls the fear and the impetus to escape through the window and go to a neighbor's house.
So they don't say what he was saying when he was brandishing the knife? Did he say anything wrong?
No, we wouldn't talk about that, and I don't have that information anyway.
Why would he have to break into their bedroom if they were locked in? Did they have locks from the inside?
They had locks from the inside, and the manner in which they kept them in prison wasn't necessarily by locking them into the door. I don't want to delve too much into that at this point. Detectives need to interview other family members before we get into that.
Chief, let me ask you, you've been in law enforcement a number of years. Have you ever seen anything like this in your career?
We unfortunately see situations all too frequently when children are abused by adults, and particularly by caretaker adults. Something to this magnitude and this length of time? No, not in Tucson.
And the three sisters, two have been kept in one bedroom and the other in another bedroom?
Correct.
And how close were the rooms?
Right next to each other.
They didn't know that each other were there?
No, they knew each other were there. They had not seen each other apparently for quite a long time.
Was Fernando under the influence of any drug?
I don't know. Just a couple more questions and we'll be wrapping this up.
The history of Fernando, apparently he's had run into the law before. Can you tell us a little bit about his record?
No, we're not going to talk about that yet.
Were the
Give us a
parents
sense.
employed?
I'm sorry?
Were the parents employed?
No, not that we could tell at this point.
Chief, could you give us a rundown again very quickly of the things that you found in the house which gives you reason to believe that these children were kidnapped and being held hostage for this period of time?
Well, kidnapping is a charge, but I mean, they are the biological children of the mother, so you can't say they were imprisoned. Their movements were controlled. There was evidence found in the bedrooms which supports their story, particularly issues about when and how and where they went to the bathroom, how they were fed, what they were fed. There's a lot of evidentiary items that supports the story that the children are given to us.
What kind of evidence is that?
I won't comment on that at this point. We need some time to sort through the investigation a little further.
And they
before
were
we
in
talk
fact
about that.
homeschooled, right?
That is what the mother's alleging.
What's the condition of the girls? Were they healthy when you guys saw them, or were they under?
We'll be working with medical officials to do the actual medical evaluations to determine if there's any, failure to thrive, malnourishment conditions that would be indicative of a long-term situation where they weren't getting sufficient or proper food and nutrition.
I'm sorry, could you describe again, you said there was some kind of sound or static barrier and then soundproofing?
Well, I didn't use those words. I just said that they had towels stuffed under the doors. They had the ductwork sealed off. As the officers approached the bedroom, they didn't hear the loud music till they got real close to the door. And that was surprising when they opened the door and could hear how loud the music was compared to the volume outside the door.
In both bedrooms?
Only the one is the one that they entered. I don't know about and that was the one with the older daughter. I don't know about the second bedroom, if that was on or
wasn't
not.
anything the girls had control of? That was being
No, that's controlled outside the room.
And they just piped in music, loud music, to drown out whatever cries or noise they might make.
I don't know what the reasons were, but what we're being told by the girls is that the music never stopped.
Can you just tell us how the girls got through the window? Was the window not locked, or did they break it, or it's not like, I'm surprised they were able to get out of the window based on the other descriptions.
I know that the window was alarmed, but as to if they broke it or opened it, I don't know. We will have further comments here at, I'm going to set that about 4 o'clock. We'll do it with any further information we have at that point. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was Tucson Police Chief Roberto Villasenor with an update on the girls allegedly held captive by their stepfather and mother for the past 2 years. And we've heard from Roberto Villasenor this morning that one of the girls kept a journal for a year and a half, shedding some light on the investigation. Join us for KGUN-9 on your side starting at 5. We will have team coverage. Now back to regular programming.